Okay, today we're looking at the wonderful world of trig equations. What I've got here are two equations. One's a linear 3 cos theta plus 1 equals 0. The second one is a quadratic equation. On the side, I have my unit circle or information that I need in order to solve a trig equation. I've got cast written down, as well as the relationship between theta and each reference angle and the quadrants. So first of all, what we want to do is isolate cosine anytime we're doing a trig equation. And the one thing that usually is given to us in grade 11 is that my answers should come between 0 degrees and 360 degrees. Sometimes it's less than or equal to 360, sometimes just less than, so we have to be careful with that. So first, I'm going to isolate cos by moving the 1 and dividing by the 3. So we have 3 cos theta equals 1. We divide by 3 on both sides, and we get negative 1/3 on the right. Now, we take out our calculator, make sure we're set into degrees. And the important thing here is when we punch in second function cos, we want to find the reference angle, which is a quadrant 1 angle, somewhere between 0 and 90 degrees. And to do that, we have to ignore the negative sign when we punch it in. So we're going to punch in second function cos of 1/3. And that gets us 70 degrees. Now we're going to take that 70 degrees over to our unit circle diagram, and we're going to find where cosine is a negative ratio. And we're using the negative from the original negative 1/3, and we're using the trig function cos because that's what's involved with this question. So if I look at my diagram, I can see that cosine is positive in quadrant 4 and quadrant 1, and it's negative, therefore, in quadrant 2 and quadrant 3. So what I'm going to do is use the formulas that are in those two quadrants and figure out what theta would be. 180 degrees in quadrant 2 minus 70 would give me an answer of 110. And in quadrant 3, 180 degrees plus 70 gives me an answer of 250 degrees. And it's very important as well to make sure that we have degrees in our answer. For the second question, we're looking at a quadratic equation. So this one's a little harder. It's got a tan squared in it. So usually that means we're going to be factoring. We're going to set up our brackets, and we're going to factor this equation. We can use our Punnett square method, which you can see on a video as well, or a guess and check method in order to factor. If you factor this correctly, what you'll end up with is 3 tan theta plus 1 times tan theta minus 3. From here, we're going to establish our roots the same way as we would solve an x question. So we're going to set tan theta equal to, we're trying to establish something that I can replace tan with that's going to give me 0. It's going to be negative 1, opposite of positive 1, opposite sign, divided by the multiplier on the tan, which is 3. And on the other side, we've got a different answer. If I take positive 3 and replace it with tangent, I'm going to have in the brackets positive 3 minus 3, which gives me 0. So the answer here is tan theta is equal to 3. From there, we're going to take our calculator out, punch in second function tan of 1/3, positive 1/3, important to remember, always ignore that negative. That gives us 18-degree reference angle for that question. And for the second part on the right, we do the same thing, second function tan of 3, and we get 71 degrees. Each of these angles we're going to take back to our unit circle using cast and our information given to us inside those quadrants, and we're going to establish what the theta angle will be. So the first one, I'm looking at now, I go back and I make sure that I take into consideration the ratio was negative, and it's a tan question. Now if I look at tangent, it's positive in quadrant 3 and quadrant 1. So therefore, it would be negative in quadrant 2 and quadrant 4. So I'm going to use the formulas in those two quadrants. 180 degrees subtract 18 would be 162. And in quadrant 4, 360 degrees subtract 18 would be 342 degrees. And I can continue on with the second answer on the right. I've got a positive 3, and it's also a tangent question. So now I'm looking at quadrant 1 and quadrant 3, where the T is, that means tangent's positive in that quadrant. So my answers here would be 71 degrees in quadrant 1, because theta is theta r, and 180 plus 70 gives me 251 degrees in quadrant 3.